of the revenue that you make, right? And much like in a startup.
Yes, man, and let's get some of our old soldiers back out.
Musicians to be professional, they know how to talk.
To help them wake up happy. It's not about a rectangle at a price.
All right, y'all, we're tuned in for another episode of Bank That Radio Show. I'm your host, Andreas, and I have another guest being brought via Podmatch, and she's on Zoom with us. We have Miss Carly Pepin, and who is a human behavior specialist. So we're going to get into that. But a little bit about Miss Pepin. She's an international speaker and consultant with a specialized focus on human behavior with a global reach. She delivers the message that regardless of one's background, occupation, origin, or even individual encounters personal and professional challenges stemming from their own perceived flaws. That is a mouthful. We'll get into that. Ms. Pepin emphasizes that the key to living a fulfilling life, living a fulfilling life lies in how you utilize and transform these stories. Miss Pepin, thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yes, I definitely, when I saw your profile, I was like, oh my goodness, this is very interesting. Let's get into this. First of all, let me just compliment. I love the books in the background. Looks like you got is that encyclopedia set on the other side or something like that? Something to that nature.
Yeah.
Is that a series or something?
It is. So this is like the great books. So it's kind of all by like the greats. Like this one's got Plutarch, Aristotle's up here, Plato, Heraclitus.
Oh.
Yeah, and if anyone is interested, there's like a summary of them called Synopticum, volume 1 and 2. So yes, if you like the greats and masters of information and education, this is a cool one.
Okay, so let's get into it then. So helping people fully understand, and to, I guess, does it start with the mind as far as, recognizing your flaws, and then, how do you get someone to like really optimize?
Yeah, so first, most people are aware of their perceived flaws, right? So usually if I say, what do you love about yourself? What do you not like about yourself? People can definitely give me that list pretty quickly. So we focus when I connect with people on first what's within your own mindset, what's evident to you and what you're aware of. And it'll be the specific things that you have that negative self-talk, right? You're putting yourself down. And what we do is the interesting thing is you're right. We actually are all of these things that we judge in ourselves. We have these parts of ourselves. We also have the opposite. Sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're sad, sometimes we're nice, sometimes we're mean, sometimes I'm honest, sometimes I lie, right? And as opposed to saying like we're bad or wrong people and trying to get rid of a part of ourselves that nobody has ever been able to get rid of, we ask ourselves different questions of how it serves us, how it serves ourselves and other individuals when they encounter these behaviors that we're labeling as bad or wrong. So what that winds up doing is it helps you see the purpose behind why things are happening, right? So as opposed to it just being like, oh, I'm a bad person, I shouldn't be this way, I shouldn't be that way, and beating yourself up forever. It's like, I did do this, and in this moment, the purpose behind it was XYZ, and all of a sudden you become grateful for every part of yourself, because we're not here to only be one-sided. Not one person has been able to achieve that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's been able to do that.
Nobody.
Throughout human history. Like, I don't think anybody's been able to do that. But okay, so then, that just my brain starts to like, tingle and stuff like that. So, okay, let's say like, perception of bad, right? Are we really like conceptualizing what bad is? Because like, cheating on your diet, that could be perceived as bad, but like, going out and murdering somebody, that obviously, what I'm saying, is bad. So where do you draw the line with people and let them know that, there's like limitations to that, I would assume?
Well, for the most part, I'm generally not working with anyone who I have to worry about them murdering people. Like, we'll just start with that. They usually don't come to me for personal development. Yeah.
Hey.
So I haven't really had to talk to them about it. But also, in reality, there are individuals and cultures out there, we see it with wars, we see it with what's going on right now in our world, is that they don't actually perceive what they're doing as bad. They perceive in their perception, what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing is good, and
Mm-hmm.
other people perceive what they're doing is bad. People are
Mm-hmm.
genuinely dying. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we look at it, it is all perception. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
crazy to think about it, but our
Mm-hmm.
life and our world is actually demonstrating that this is occurring right
Mm-hmm.
now, and that it is in all ways like someone's perception. And their perception, this is the best way
Mm-hmm.
to do it through the violence and through the war,
Mm-hmm.
right? And through someone else's perception, we're like, well, can't you find another way? And so it depends on the culture, the
Mm-hmm.
background, their current strategies, like what they're accustomed and used to. So when we think about morals, you have this one culture saying we're doing this for the
Mm-hmm.
good of our country, and another culture saying, like, you're like, this is not the way to do it. This is a bad way to do it. So when we ask ourselves that question, it's really
Mm-hmm.
interesting because when I do it, I work with people kind of on that individual basis, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like we take the good and bad from the outside and we've applied it to the inside. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, if you are fighting with someone, fighting with a partner, and you have a lot of conflict, I hear this a lot where they're like, you're not supposed to have conflict in partnerships. It's like, that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
genuinely normal. So, if you go in and stop labeling it as bad and see the purpose, like it's
Mm-hmm.
actually quite inspiring to see. And you're like, wow, if we didn't have this fight, we wouldn't have had this conversation. I wouldn't have shared this with you. You wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
shared that with me. We
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have moved forward on this goal. I can't
Mm-hmm.
believe like we hadn't even discussed this. Sometimes I look at it with my husband, I'm like, how
Mm-hmm.
did we not talk about this before? You
Yeah.
know? And it's like, thank goodness we had this argument and
Yeah.
fight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's seeing both sides of the coin so that
Mm-hmm.
for us, we just see the purpose behind it. And if it's
Mm-hmm.
stressful to us, you
Mm-hmm.
want to help yourself see the purpose behind it.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Because I tell people all the time, like you can't enjoy pleasure without pain, and you can't understand what pain is without pleasure. They go hand in hand. To me, I don't think you really get to separate them. Like I guess the yin and yang type of situation, if I'm using the correct analogy. So how did you like, get started in helping people, find their purpose and understanding to, better optimize themselves?
Yeah, so I just had gotten lost myself. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was really just disconnected from myself and my life, and I got really depressed and I had anxiety, and then I left the country because I thought that would solve my problems, and it didn't.
I love how I left the
And
country.
then I had to leave the
Oh.
country to do it. Yeah, of course, like as extreme as possible. And then when I got there, I just realized it was all inside me. And that's when I
Mm-hmm.
found my first coach that helped me work on mindset and understanding how to
Mm-hmm.
prioritize my purpose, what that
Mm-hmm.
looked like. And that actually shifted everything really quickly. So it wasn't probably the first month working with her, I had such amazing results,
Mm-hmm.
such amazing results. I was like, who's your teacher? Sign me
Mm-hmm.
up. I want to
Mm-hmm.
get certified. Let's
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
So as you're doing this, and I'm sure you've been doing it for a while now, your network of people, right? Your inner circle or your most trusted people, when you're like, hey, I'm gonna go out on this limb and do this, what did they think? Did they like, oh no, I don't think you should do that, there's no money in it, or are you gonna make a living? Or were they very supportive and like, encouraging you?
Both. So I got both. Yeah. So I got individuals who are like, oh, this is just like, I like to try out a lot of things. So they're like, this is
Mhm.
just another one of Carly's things. This one actually lasted though. So I like to explore life. So
Uh-huh.
this one actually lasted. But yeah, that was one of the feedbacks, which was fun. And it's
Hmm.
interesting because now those individuals were like, she did it. Like, wow, she actually did it. I wasn't sure she was going to do it. And then there were other individuals who kind of understood that I had that entrepreneurial spirit and was like,
Hmm.
she seems dedicated to this one. I think she's
Hmm.
gonna get it. I think she's gonna
Yeah.
get it done. Yeah. So there's a couple different dynamics of things I experienced, but the most important part is how
Hmm.
you are perceiving it and interpreting it within. Because as long as I have the certainty I'm gonna get for it, that's all I really need. Yeah.
Exactly. I love that. Just like, that trying things scenario. Um, I've had this conversation with other people and it just puzzles me because when I look at people, I see them trying things. It's like, cool, they're trying something, at least they're trying something. And I don't think we really know our purpose or can find our purpose until we get to that point to where, it all just basically sinks in at that like epiphany moment or something like that. Um, my question is, why do you think people in general like make statements like this, like, people are just trying things when we don't know
Mhm.
what we're good at until we find it?
Yeah, well, trying things, we go out and we seek the things that we enjoy, right? So I've
Hmm.
gone and I've built businesses and I've worked in industries in things that I enjoy doing outside of, yeah, just
Hmm.
work, right?
Hmm.
And it was something that I was interested in because I used to think, well, if I like doing this so much on my own, why am I not just trying to do it like in a business? Why wouldn't I try to get into that industry?
Hmm.
And so for me, it was trying all the different things that I loved and kind of seeing what fit. I also well, I started to notice when I started to do the human behavior stuff, I started to look at my life
Hmm.
and refine it and fine-tune comb, right, to greater detail. And I
Hmm.
would look back and I would see that all the businesses I noticed I worked for, I
Hmm.
consistently found a way to have a position right alongside the CEO, the owners, right? And what
Hmm.
that gave me is a level of mentorship. It was
Hmm.
quite fascinating. So no matter what size the company, small or large, I would seek out positions to be right alongside them so I could get mentored. I can understand things that they're doing, how they're doing it. They would share it with me, and I would be
Hmm.
their right hand, right? Not
Hmm.
assistant, but like right hand, like also
Hmm.
implementing some of the stuff that they would. And that
Hmm.
was really helpful for me. So it's kind of like if you're out there and you're trying things out, what is the pattern in all of the things that you're trying out? What are the things that you enjoyed? What are the things you
Hmm.
didn't enjoy? And I can see that pattern brought me to
Hmm.
where I am today. And
Hmm.
when I sat and I started a business, started a company, I had people selling me the fantasy of overnight success, and I would
Hmm.
in the back of my head, I just kept thinking, all these other businesses didn't like have an overnight success. So why would this one have it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, it's that level of knowledge and experience that whatever you're doing gives us. So it's like see
Hmm.
the pattern of what you're trying and
Hmm.
see what it really means to you. And you'll see that there's a
Hmm.
lot of purpose behind it, and you'll get a greater glimpse of your life purpose as well.
Exactly. I love that. Um, so when you're positioning yourself in the marketplace, right, and you're putting yourself out there, how did the marketplace receive you? Was it hard to like land the first client or anything like that, or?
Yeah, my first client, it was tricky. I didn't know
Mhm.
what to do. I'd never done this before.
I love it. I love the honesty.
Yeah. So I had no idea what I was doing. So I went to networking meetings and
Uh-huh.
I just tried everything. And my first client finally came. I also was teaching yoga and I was like, I'm
Hmm.
gonna do yoga workshops, right? So I
Hmm.
was doing yoga workshops along with
Hmm.
personal development. And
Hmm.
then I started to create clients off of that after I would
Yeah.
offer my services. But yeah, it was really tricky in the beginning because there's no real guidebook for someone like me. Like, I don't have a background in marketing or
Hmm.
sales,
Hmm.
like a high background there. And I'm not like a therapist. So,
Hmm.
insurance companies aren't feeding me people. So
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
yeah, I was like, I'm just starting from scratch. So
Hmm.
yeah, part of it's getting creative and seeing
Hmm.
like what do you love to do?
Hmm.
Like what do you actually genuinely love? I also love speaking, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I was like, let me do more podcasts. This is really fun for me. So it's
Yeah.
like, what do you genuinely love to do? And who else is providing it out there? And how can you
Hmm.
collaborate with those individuals so that you
Uh-huh.
both can add value? And then
Exactly.
it's like, I meet people, like you get to come to my
Hmm.
audience. Like it's like a
Hmm.
win-win for us. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. So what did you learn like your first year of business, and doing this? What was like, what I'm saying, the thing that stood out to you?
Yeah, the thing that stood out was sales was
Hmm.
really hard. Yeah, selling
Yeah,
was like a
it
lot
is.
harder than I thought. I was
Uh-huh.
so excited about the products and
Hmm.
the opportunities for transformation because it had changed
Hmm.
my life.
Yeah,
And so when people didn't sign up, my brain was like, how would no one want this? So
exactly.
it's like, it's crazy. Do they have any idea what they're missing out on?
Uh-huh.
And then as I started to study sales and marketing more, I was like,
Uh-huh.
well, you're not really sharing it with them properly, Carly. So how
Hmm.
are they supposed to know? So that was a really beautiful lesson and lots of education to learn how to
Uh-huh.
communicate value and understand people's needs to a greater degree. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's been inspiring.
So I imagine that you've probably added on services since then, right? As far as things that you do for people. How was that transformation?
Yeah, so it's kind of bit by bit that I've done that and transformed that. So in the beginning it was teaching yoga and doing like small workshops. Now
Hmm.
there's no yoga teaching, but they're large scale workshops and I do the
Hmm.
one-on-one consulting and we're also starting to do corporate work now. And when I
Hmm.
say we, I've taken on some of this with my husband on the
Yeah.
workshops and the other stuff as well. So he's been a
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah.
transition too.
How
Yeah.
how the corporations responded to it? Because sometimes depending on leadership in the corporation, it can have a culture of being fuddy-duddies or whatever, and not like being innovative enough for change or resisting change because they've done corporations used to like processes and being rigid.
Yeah. So when I look at corporations and individuals to connect with,
Hmm.
I take a look at the owners of the company first,
Hmm.
because the owners of the company are the individuals that are going to instill the mission, the vision, the purpose, the
Hmm.
values of the company. And
Hmm.
if they value growth, personal development in any form, I know that there's a possibility that we're a
Hmm.
fit.
Hmm.
And then it's the next step is like seeing, do they actually have a need for my services, right? But
Hmm.
it's just first things first is like, what's the company about? Because there are
Hmm.
individuals, they don't value it. And it's not a good thing or bad thing, but I
Hmm.
don't have to invest time with someone who doesn't want the product or service. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what seems to be like, what I'm saying, people's I guess blockage or the number one thing that you can see is the commonalities between individuals that you work with, which like I guess the first couple things that most people are using is their blockage to not get to the next level.
Yeah, so our comparisons
Mm-hmm.
are the main cause. We'll wind up comparing ourselves to other people. We'll either
Mm-hmm.
infatuate with them and we'll put them on
Mm-hmm.
a pedestal.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll think that they're better than us, they have something greater than us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we infatuate with them.
Mm-hmm.
And either that one or we judge them in another way where we resent them. We put them in the pit,
Mm-hmm.
right? We don't like them, we dislike them, we hate them.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those cause a seek and avoid response in the brain, in our
Mm-hmm.
amygdala. It's like a fight or flight, right? And
Ah,
so, yeah, yeah. And
okay.
what's happening is this is consciously occurring, but
Mm-hmm.
also unconsciously occurring. And your
Mm-hmm.
entire world, which you don't even realize, is filtered through these judgments. So
Mm-hmm.
you could have someone that you resent,
Mm-hmm.
maybe your mom, your dad, usually it's a family member growing up that you have a
Mm-hmm.
really hard challenge with, right?
Yeah.
And you can have that individual and you meet someone that reminds you of them. Maybe they wear a
Mm-hmm.
baseball cap all the time or the same
Mm-hmm.
type of glasses. You don't
Mm-hmm.
even realize
Mm-hmm.
that you have that link in your subconscious. But because of that,
Mm.
you now want to avoid that person. You
Yeah.
want to disconnect. You want to run. And sometimes people say they have bad energy, like I just
Mm-hmm.
don't, they have bad vibes or something. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
if I ask you some questions, we're going
Mm-hmm.
to find out. It reminded
Yeah.
you of someone who really challenged you from the past. So
Yeah.
that's our avoid mechanism. The
Mm-hmm.
seek mechanism is when we have infatuation with someone. You could stand in a room, let's say of 10 people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And all those 10 people, let's say four of them are potential clients for you and they'd be great clients. Like they're your ideal clients. But
Mm-hmm.
outside of that four, there's one person that reminds you of something that you infatuate with. All of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, all you see in that room is that one person, and you put all your time and energy there because you seek
Mm-hmm.
them. They're like prey to you. So you like
Mm-hmm.
go after them. And
Mm-hmm.
so that seeking and avoiding mechanism actually blocks you from just being present with your surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
So when I work with people on these judgments that come from our comparisons, what winds
Mm-hmm.
up happening is their world opens up. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't open up because it's magic. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't open up because we did something special. It
Mm-hmm.
opens up because now they see the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And so
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, all these opportunities that were available to them before, but they couldn't see, are
Mm-hmm.
present and they can take action on them. It's
Mm-hmm.
quite amazing how our perceptions can really control how we see
Mm-hmm.
the world.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that because on a couple occasions, like I go and I do pop-ups and I record the pop-ups and I'll go and talk to all the vendors and stuff, right? So as I'm going through and talking to the vendors, I can feel like, the other vendors, excuse me, they don't have any type of relationship with me or whatever. So I'm getting like funny looks or whatever to them. But then when I get to them, it's a different type of scenario because I'm trying to like give everyone the opportunity to talk about their business and ask the same questions to everyone and try to do it in the time format that I do it in. But I've experienced that where like I prejudge, they prejudge me, and I'm like when I really get to get them to like open up and see their personality, I'm like I shouldn't have been thinking about this person or whatever and trying to put them in that type of category. Because like you said, it could be a good fit, and you end up getting like a lot of good fits,
Mhm.
as opposed to just like, you know, hitting off with somebody and then like disregarding everybody else because you hit it off with somebody. Yeah, I definitely can see that. So what has been like, some of your biggest challenges in like, pushing the business and getting people to understand what you do?
Definitely refining the message for
Mm-hmm.
sure. So trying to refine the message, take, some complex information and sort of summarize it in a way
Mm-hmm.
that you can understand it quickly enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when we
Mm-hmm.
teach this stuff in one-on-ones or I'm doing workshops and whatnot, we have like the time,
Mm-hmm.
to explain it and dive into the depths and go into
Mm-hmm.
all the details and show you backgrounds and stuff. So it's probably been definitely one of the challenging components, but also it's really inspiring. Like it's also
Mm-hmm.
fun to do. It's like, what can I get out in I'll do minute video,
Mm-hmm.
like a little challenge for myself, right? Like a minute
Mm-hmm.
video challenge. It's like, how can I
Mm-hmm.
explain this in a minute or less for social media?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
challenging. Yeah.
it's fun. That's part of my
Yeah,
like
that is, yeah.
practice of getting
Uh-huh.
better at teaching.
Yeah, because I can see that
Yeah.
where actually that's like I was going to ask that type of question too. Like, what type of content would you be doing to like really push yourself out there, especially using social media as that tool? And like you said, you have something that's very complex. And you have to break it down because everybody else doesn't understand the industry terminology, the jargon, everything that comes along with it, and how in depth it is, and provoking change with people. And to present that in a simplified or even overly simplified manner, sometimes I'm like, it can lead to where, people devalue it because it's oversimplified or, I'm saying it wasn't simplified enough or whatever the case may be. But I bet that it's very challenging, but I think it gives you the opportunity for creativity as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, because it really pushes us. And I think that's the same with any challenge we have. With any challenge we have, we have the opportunity to have creativity spur from within, innovation spur from within to
Mm-hmm.
overcome a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes people get really frustrated because they're like, oh, I'm stuck here. Stuck here. I can't get out of this challenge. I'm like stuck. I hate it. At
Mm-hmm.
the same time, it's like, well, what opportunities are arising as a result of this challenge? Who do you get to
Mm-hmm.
be? Who do you get to become? Like, what do
Mm-hmm.
you get to do? And then when you answer that question, you realize that every challenge is also an opportunity to experience the other
Mm-hmm.
side. It's like you said, you can't have the pleasure without the pain, or the
Yeah.
pain without the pleasure, both sides. So while we're in the pain of a challenge, we get the pleasure of experiencing ourselves and how we can grow and what we're capable of, right? So it's pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool. And even as we're doing that, we're creating new challenges
Yeah, we
because we're
are.
on a journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, can you give us an example of your best or your biggest success story with working with an individual?
Yeah, I think like overall, it's hard to say, a biggest success story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, my greatest gift when
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with people is when at the end of a package, they're just feeling so much more fulfilled with their life.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we've worked on business, finances, people have done really well and expanded their business. They make more money, they get in
Mm-hmm.
relationships, they have kids,
Mm-hmm.
they do all these things they want to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the real crux of it is it's all about what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And they go from being, having a hard time in their life, being frustrated, feeling stuck, to being energized and
Yeah.
feeling alive. Yeah. And just waking up every day saying, I get to do this. This is a life I
Mm-hmm.
get to do. This is a life I created. So for me, it's like the greatest opportunity. I wouldn't even say it's a success because everyone has this opportunity. It's like the greatest
Mm-hmm.
opportunity for people to have on this planet that every day you can wake up saying, I get to do this. I'm literally living a
Mm-hmm.
life that I love and everything I love the most, I get to
Mm-hmm.
do every day.
Yeah.
Like that's a possibility for everyone. Even your challenges get to
Yes.
be, sculpted and crafted around what you love.
Yeah, they do. So a speaker, you do speaking engagements. How often do you get to do those?
Yeah, well, I do podcasts mostly now. So now I've been
Okay.
doing mostly podcasts, and it's been a few times a week, which has been really inspiring.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really love it. Yeah, I live a little bit far away right now from places, so
Well, no, I
I'm
get
gonna
that.
get
I
back
get
into
that in the mountains and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
in the
When you're in the mountains, you know
mountains.
what I'm saying? You just, oh, I'm isolated from the world.
No, I know. So
I
I'm
bet
gonna do podcasts
the
now.
I
When
bet
I
the
go
air
back down
though,
to yeah,
isn't it, is
yeah,
the air really thinner in the mountains? Like when you live in the mountains and
yes,
stuff, it is. So
yeah,
I guess your body has to adjust, and if
yes.
people if they have respiratory issues, would it affect them a lot?
I'm actually not sure. I will
Okay.
say though, I am athletic and
Hmm.
it's been the best thing for my
Yeah.
fitness. Like the best because my lung capacity has increased. And when I'm up here, I'm
Hmm.
actually out of breath quite quickly. It's normal to feel out of breath quite quickly in the mountains. But then I
Hmm.
go down and I do the same thing and I'm like, this is so easy. Like at sea level,
Yeah,
it's
that's
now easy. Training up here is
um
the best.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I've heard as far as
Yeah.
like athletes and stuff, especially like basketball players and stuff. They'll go to like mountainous areas and train, and then that way when they're at the lower elevations, they can perform way better and it spike their performance and all that stuff. That's amazing. With the podcast and stuff, you said you've been going on. How long have you been doing it as far as like speaking on the podcast?
So I decided to start last year.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the beginning of last year. And I
Hmm.
remember one of my individual mentors offered an opportunity to speak and
Hmm.
reach individuals by being on their documentary. And
Hmm.
the price tag to do that was quite high.
Hmm.
And my dad's actually from the film industry. So
Hmm.
for me, like you even pay to be a producer. And I was like, that's not how it works. I was like,
Hmm.
you get paid to be a producer. That's what I'm
Hmm.
used to.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I thought to myself, I would love to reach that many people. I
Hmm.
said, but I don't need to pay to do it. I was like, I'm
Hmm.
going to go out and start doing podcasts and I want to reach
Hmm.
more people than I would have reached if I was
Hmm.
actually on that. So that actually inspired me to just
Hmm.
really just jumpstart the podcast, which is cool.
Yeah.
Again, like a challenge where I was like, I don't want to pay that.
Hmm.
Actually inspired me to get innovative and creative and do
Hmm.
something I love. Yeah.
Hmm. So you're speaking on podcasts. Did you start your own as well, or?
I did not start my own. I've thought about it, but I'm
Hmm.
not certain. I know if I want to, though, when
Uh-huh.
it's time, I'll
Hmm.
be like, now's the time, and I'll have that certainty.
I'm like
Yeah.
you have this natural way about talking, so hey, I don't see why
Right.
not. But for everybody out there, let them know if they want to use your service, they want to book, they want to talk, whatever the case may be. Where do they need to go to?
Definitely my website, carlypepin.com, so they can contact me there. And then there's all the lovely social media platforms. You can pick your favorite.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, there's a whole lot of them right now too. With oh my goodness, social media. But Carly, thank you for your time, and I'm gonna let you get back to your busy schedule and busy day. Thank you for the insight and the jewels that you provided. I'm like, I love this exchange between us. I don't know if you can feel the energy, but I can feel it. I can feel the love. So I definitely, I can't wait till I can post this and put it out. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you too. This was an inspiring conversation.
Hey, I did my job then.